If I told you there was a way to increase your average order value, your listings ranking, and your brand value, all that while pushing your competitors further away and for 100% free, would you believe me? Well, that is what Brand Story can do for you. And in this video, I will be talking all about the do's and don'ts of Brand Story, my favorite tips, as well as the full step-by-step tutorial on how to create your Amazon brand story within Seller Central. Now, yes, Brand Story is only for brand registered sellers. So if that's not you, there is yet another reason for you to get brand registered. And here on the channel, we already have other videos talking about the benefits of getting brand registered, as well as the full tutorial on how to do it. So I'll be sure to leave the link to those videos in the description below. Now, if that's you and you are brand registered, you're in luck, so let's get to it. First, what is Brand Story? Brand Story is a section on your Amazon products listing where you can feature different kinds of information. Let me show you an example. So in this product listing, if you scroll past the images, the bullet points, you're going to see this section right here that says from the brand. And on desktop is going to be right above your A+ content, but on mobile it's going to be right below. So that's definitely something you want to take into account when choosing what you want to display in your brand story. Now, there's a lot of different information that you can include, but basically it consists of this background image and these front cards that the users can swipe through. And as they swipe, the background image stays the same. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. Now, the reason why I said that the brand story can help you push your competitors further away is because literally it can do that. If you keep scrolling down, you will see that right past the A+ content, or on mobile, right past the brand story and your product details, Amazon will start showing your potential buyer other products that they may be interested to. So your competitors' products. So the more information that you can give them about your brand, about your own products, about your other products, the bigger the chances that you get that sale and not your competitor. I also mentioned increasing your average order value. That means that the customer buys more from you in general. Maybe it's this one product or other products that you sell as well. And that is because, as you probably saw here on this example, one of the things that you can do within your brand story is feature other products that you sell. So it could be different variations, different products. And that is also another reason why niching down and selling multiple products for the same audience can be a big advantage. Now, as I mentioned, there is a lot of different kinds of information that you can display. This is just one example, but if you simply Google Amazon brand story, you can get more ideas, more inspiration for your own brand story. Now, here are my favorite content ideas to include in your brand story. Number one is to actually talk about your brand. That is the reason why Amazon created this new section. And as a matter of fact, there are other platforms that do that really well. For example, Etsy. Etsy does have that kind of more an intimacy between the buyer and the brand. You can know more about the brand. There's a whole section as well. And I think that's what Amazon is trying to compete with, or trying to give customers a little bit of that as well. So talk about your brand, talk about why it's different from competitors, what sets it apart. Talk about your mission statement, any of that. Number two is talk about yourself, the founder of the brand, and why you created that brand. Perhaps you created it to overcome a pain point that your potential buyer is going through right now. And that is a way for you to connect and show them how you can solve their problem as well. So if you do that, I highly recommend that you actually include a profile photo. Yes, you could include your brand logo. By all means, do that. But when you include that profile photo, there's definitely another level of connection between you and the customer. And customers tend to trust more of that information when it comes from another person than just a brand. So talk about yourself, why you created that brand. Also, as I mentioned, talk about your other products. You can even put your store ID link here that customers can go to and visit, and I'll show you that in the tutorial. But talk about other products that that same customer would be interested in. You can also talk about that specific product from that product listing. So if you want to give even more information, more details about that product, you can create that. Now, make sure that if that's the case, you're very intentional about the ASIN or the listing that you're connecting that brand story to, just like with A+ content. You understand what I mean very soon in our tutorial. And another thing that you can do is actually share customer feedback. This is actually my favorite placement for that kind of content, where you can show some social proof, what other customers are experiencing when they are using your product. Obviously, I would assume you would only share 5-star reviews. And that's great because a lot of times the customers will go to the reviews and you can't really control which reviews show up first. Even if you have a high rating, like let's say you have 4.8, sometimes a customer will click on reviews and the first reviews to show are all negative. So you can actually show some of your other customers' feedback within your brand story and grab the attention of your customers. Show them your favorite reviews way before they even get to the review section. Now let's talk about some do's and don'ts when creating your Amazon brand story. The first do is be intentional and creative about your background image. So as you can see right here in this example, I wouldn't call this a good background image because one, the most important area, the one that you can see the most, is completely underutilized. This section right here on the left and on the top, and especially on mobile, that's not gonna look very good. And second, you can't even see what's going on in the image. At all times, the cards are covering. So I will show you one way to kind of predict what you can see really well and what you can't when you're creating your graphics or when you're working with an agency or graphic designer to create it. Now that brings me to the first don't, which is don't add a very distracting background image. The most important information will come from the cards and yes, from this section right here of your background image. So if there's a lot going on, the user might just skip right through it because they don't want to deal with that busyness of information. They want to be told exactly where to look at and get that information very easily. That brings me to another don't, which is do not add a lot of text. Again, most of us are very lazy when it comes to information. We want to be shown quickly what all of that is about. We don't want to put the effort to read anything. And you can put yourself in the shoes of your customers whenever you go and you buy something. If there's too much text, you probably skip through it. But we all love visuals and we all love to be taught through visuals. So don't use too much text because that might actually have your users just skip through your brand story altogether. Now, another do, I already hint at it, which is to optimize for mobile first. The majority of your users will be looking at your product listing on mobile. So if you're not yet optimizing your images, your A+ content, all that for mobile, you definitely should start doing that and do the same for brand story. Here on desktop, you can see that even though they're not utilizing this space right here, you can see more things going on because you have all of this room. On mobile, you're pretty much only going to see this and a little bit of the first card. So that is incredibly important for you to use this space really well. So whenever you're thinking about what to do or what do you want, how do you want to display your brand story, think about this section the most to start with. And here on the other examples, you can see that other people did that really well. The couple, the scene, whatever is going on is on this empty space, or they are adding text right here on the front. There's definitely a lot of good examples, so make sure to browse through and get more inspiration before creating your own as well. And speaking of optimizing, the third do is definitely take advantage of the alt text and keep SEO in mind, because that will help you with ranking. It's not official. Amazon doesn't say that will help you rank for certain keywords. They say the same thing about A+ content, but we have tested and we have seen that it actually counts for ranking. Definitely A+ content does. So during our tutorial, I'll show you exactly where to add your keyword phrases so that can help you for ranking as well. And the final don't is don't overdo on the cards. There's not really a limit to like the ideal number of cards. You can see right here, they used 5 cards, and you could use even more. Perhaps the user clicks on the arrow twice. But if you add too much, especially if there is a lot of text, then it looks kind of spammy, and most users don't really like that. So don't overdo on the cards for sure. And now let's get to our tutorial. So first things first, let's talk about the graphics. There is a specific size of the banner and each of the graphics that you need to follow. And when we're creating the modules within Seller Central, you'll see it will always tell you, so you don't even need to memorize it. But I went ahead and created these templates for you, which I'll make it available in the description below if you want. This is the correct sizing. And as I said, you could be as creative as you want. Here I went very simplistic just for the sake of the tutorial. But I created this brand that doesn't exist. And one thing that I did as well is to put the placement of the cards as they're going to be shown on desktop and as you're going to see soon on mobile as well. This way, you can really plan whatever is going to be showing on this section very well as the top, without conflicting with the other cards. Now, keep in mind that once they swipe it through, the background image is going to stay the same, and the other card, this card right here, is going to be covering whatever is that information you were showing. So this is mostly for them to see it at first. Now, one idea is to actually use this space as another card. So you can create a graphic kind of like this, as I've done, that mimics the cards that are going through. So you could actually, for example, have this border look on this area right here. And for all of the card designs that you create, which is what I did, you could have the same border as well. And that gives more of that flow of keep going and look at the next cards. That's just one of the ideas. There are definitely lots of ways that you can utilize this space. You could also have a prompt, especially on mobile, for people to swipe so they know what to do, that there's more things for them to see. There's many different ideas. So for now, I'm going to keep it as is. And whenever you're ready to download, all you would have to do is you could like duplicate this and then get rid of these cards. And you have this as part as your background image, and then you go ahead and download. Now for mobile, it's very similar. You can see it's a completely different size that I've already created here correctly in this template. And I did the same thing for mobile. So this is pretty much the space that you have to work with. This is what it's going to be looking like on mobile. You're going to have this space and you're going to see a little bit of the next card with the arrow. So especially on mobile, what could be a good idea is to have an arrow here and a call to action like swipe for more or swipe here, click here, anything like that. But in this case, I just did the same thing. I had a little bit of the founder of the brand. And when I'm ready to download, I would just duplicate it and then get rid of this. And now the card would be in the correct placement. And finally, we have our brand story cards. Also, in this template, you're going to find it in the correct sizing. And for this example, I just added some photos of products that have to do with my brand. And I added that border to look like that other card that I created in the background image. But as I mentioned, you could add here some feedback from customers. You could use Canva. It is the best software, in my opinion, for graphics because it's so user-friendly and it's free. So I'll leave the link for your free Canva account in the description below as well. And here you can browse through all of these different templates. You can search by words. Let's say your brand has something to do with clay. You can already get some inspiration, or if you want just inspiration for the background image, you can go to whatever kind of style that you want, and there are many options right here. And you can also get elements. Let's say you're putting your customers' feedback. You can search for 5 stars. Go here, you can change the color to gold or yellow or whatever. Here you can add text and so on. So in this case, I'm going to keep it simple for the sake of our tutorial, and then go ahead and download everything, and then let's head to Seller Central. All right, here in Seller Central, go ahead and click on the main menu button, go to advertising and click on A+ Content Manager. Yes, the brand story is part of the A+ content section. So you can go ahead and click this button, start creating A+ content. That's where it's going to be. Now you may not have all of these options like the premium A+ content, but you should see this button right here, create a brand story. Then you can go ahead and name your brand story. I'm just going to put the name of the company here. And I'll leave it as US English for language. And now if you scroll down, we can start adding our content. So click on this button right here to add your background image. And here you can either drag your image or click to upload it. So I'm gonna click, then click on upload image. And one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the importance of naming your files correctly. So take advantage of Google SEO and name your files with important keywords for your product. This might not necessarily help you with ranking on Amazon, but it will help you with web browser ranking. So for example, if someone's looking for a face brightener, obviously that's a very competitive keyword, but this photo right here could be showing up on Google image results. So go ahead and rename your files. And I'm going to double click here to upload my background image. And here's where you should definitely be intention when it comes to SEO. Get your master keyword list and use your keyword phrases right here for alt text to help you with SEO. So I have this right here. I'm just going to copy a few. There is a character limit of 200 characters. So you could use a character count tool here. I'm just going to eyeball it for this example. And you can also add tags. Tags are just words that you could add to associate with this image. So later when you're creating maybe another brand story or an A+ content and you want to use that exact image, you can just search by these tags. So I will put something like a brand and simply glow. Okay, then click on add, and you're going to see that those keywords on alt text are going to show up right here. You could also drag the image, as I'm going to do for the mobile here, and as you drag it, it's going to populate the image, but you still need to add the alt text. So do the same, get some keywords here, and the limit is 100 characters for your alt text. There you go. Once you're ready, go ahead and click add, and you have your background image. Now you can see here that you could add some text within these modules. You can add a headline or even body text, but personally, I don't really like using the text options within the brand story from Amazon. I would much rather add some text myself within my graphics because it doesn't look very appealing, especially the body text. It looks very small and not very pleasant to read. So even though it could help you with SEO, for the most part, it's not gonna make a huge difference, especially when you're just talking about your brand, for example, and you might not be using your main keyword phrases. So I'm gonna skip this text and then I'm gonna scroll down and click on add module. And this is where you can choose what types of cards and what types of information you wanna use. And you can even use the same one multiple times. You don't have to vary them by any means. The first one you have is the brand ASIN and store showcase. So that's the case. If I click right here, that's the case where you can link other products, other variations, or just other listings altogether. Right here, you can see that the Amazon will tell you the minimum size for all of these graphics and the actual ratio that they need. So in this case, for this image, it's 166 by 182 pixels. And another tip is these numbers are the minimum. You could double all of them by 2, by 3 times, as long as you keep the same ratio and create that image instead to make sure that you have good quality. This number is just the minimum possible for a good quality image. So in this case, you would have to create other graphics for your other products and then simply add your ASIN here that you want to link. And then it's going to be clickable and the user will be able to click on that product and be taken to that product listing. Right here, you can also add a headline and your brand store ID. So take your customers to your store all together for them to see all of the products that you offer. I really like this card and definitely recommend you using, but for time's sake, I'm just going to be using the regular image card. So I'm gonna exit out, yes, and then click again on add module. This second one right here, the brand focus image, is the one that you will see most often, where you can just add an image and it'll take over the whole space. And you could even add text from, like, type in your text as well if you want, but you don't have to. I will come back to that soon. Let me just talk about the other two options. First is the brand logo and description. So if you don't want to create your graphics, you don't really want to be doing that customized, you could click on this module and add your logo on top and then write whatever you want for text. As I mentioned, it doesn't look very good in my opinion, but if it's between this and not have anything at all, then by all means, go ahead and use it. And the last card is the Q&A. So if you select this card, I'll show you. You can select some predetermined questions that Amazon gives you, or you can select custom, where you can type in your own question and the response. And this is a great way for you to address a lot of concerns that perhaps other customers have had in the past. Maybe if you go to your questions section, see what are the questions that are asked the most and then include those in your brand story. Or if there's something that you foresee happening, for example, if you go through your negative reviews and there is a constant expectation that wasn't met, you can go ahead and set this as a question or as something to already prepare your customer on what to expect. Now, I won't be using this. I'm going to be going back to that main photo right here. So I'll select, click on add background image. I'm gonna go ahead and just drag. Then fill up the keywords as well, the alt text. Click on add, and I'm gonna add another one. As I mentioned, you can add multiple cards. So for this case, I'm gonna add those two. Click again here, and then drag, and then add my keywords. There we go. Then you click add. As I mentioned, you could use the headline and the body text if you want. For example, amazing trio. You could even just use one of them. You don't have to add the body text. Get your glow back. Okay. Once you're ready, go ahead and scroll back up, and right here, go ahead and click on apply ASINs. This is where you're going to be choosing to what product or products you want this brand story to show up when it comes to your Amazon product listings. So you could add in bulk, or you could just add one ASIN. So for this example, I'll just add one. Go ahead and click, and then click on apply content. Then go to review and submit. And that's where you're going to be able to review your graphics. Preview, you could actually do that before as well, but make sure everything is okay. And then simply click on submit for approval, which I won't be doing right now because this is just an example, but it should not take too long for them to approve. Usually within a couple of hours, it's approved and then right away showing on your product listing. So This is how you create your Amazon brand story. Highly recommend that if you're brand registered, you take advantage of this. Even if you don't have other products to showcase, as I mentioned, you could add more details about the same product that you're selling. And I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, you will also love this video right here on the screen. And as always, thank you for watching. God bless, and I'll catch you in the next video.